This question comes from Emily, who asks, what if Saturn's rings disappeared overnight?
At first, this sounds like a purely visual change. After all, Saturn is famous for its spectacular rings. Without them, wouldn't it just look like a slightly bigger Jupiter? But the truth is, if the rings vanished suddenly, the consequences would reach far beyond astronomy textbooks.
So let's break it down. Saturn's rings are enormous. They stretch over 280,000 kilometers wide. That's 3/4 of the distance from the Earth to the Moon. But they're astonishingly thin, only about 10 to 30 meters thick on average. They're made almost entirely of water ice, mixed with bits of rock and dust, ranging in size from tiny grains to house-sized boulders.
And here's the key detail. Those rings are not permanent. We know from NASA's Cassini mission that Saturn's rings are slowly disappearing. Particles spiral into the planet, pulled down by gravity and Saturn's magnetic field, in a process scientists call ring rain. At the current rate, the rings could vanish naturally within the next 100 million years.
But what if they vanished overnight?
The first and most obvious change would be in the night sky. For centuries, Saturn has been one of the most striking objects in telescopes, binoculars, or even a backyard stargazer's view. If the rings disappeared instantly, astronomers would notice immediately. To the naked eye, Saturn would look dimmer, less majestic, just another pale dot among the planets.
For professional astronomers, the disappearance would be even more shocking. It would mean the loss of a natural laboratory. Studying Saturn's rings has taught us how planets form, how moons interact with gravity, and even how tiny particles behave in large systems. Without them, a whole window into planetary science would close.
But what about the physical consequences? Where would all that material go? Saturn's rings contain about 15 billion tons of ice and rock, roughly the mass of a medium-sized moon. If they simply vanished, that mass would have to go somewhere.
One possibility is that the rings suddenly collapsed onto Saturn. If trillions of tons of ice and dust fell into the atmosphere, they'd release unimaginable amounts of heat. It wouldn't destroy Saturn, it's a gas giant, but the planet's upper atmosphere would flare brighter in infrared and radio wavelengths, a cosmic beacon shouting, "Something huge just happened here." Another scenario is that the material scattered outward. Instead of neat rings, Saturn could be surrounded by dozens of new moons or a giant debris field. This would be catastrophic for Saturn's existing moons. Objects like Enceladus, Titan, and Mimas would suddenly be bombarded by high-speed collisions. Surface craters would multiply overnight, and geysers or even thin atmospheres could be stripped away.
And then there's Earth. Would we notice anything beyond the visual loss? The answer is yes, but indirectly. The sudden disappearance would upend our understanding of planetary dynamics. Scientists would scramble to explain how billions of tons of material could vanish instantly without violating physics. The event would dominate headlines, and telescopes across the world would turn toward Saturn.
Interestingly, Saturn's rings also play a stabilizing role for its inner moons. They act like cosmic traffic cops, their gravity shaping orbits and preventing chaos. Without the rings, over millions of years, those moons could drift into unstable paths, collide, or even spiral into Saturn. It wouldn't happen overnight, but humanity would be watching a long chain of destruction unfold.
Of course, there's a more poetic angle, too. Saturn's rings have been a symbol of beauty in the solar system. Galileo first spotted them in 1610, and since then, they've captured the imagination of scientists, artists, and dreamers alike. If they vanished in a single night,
It would feel like losing one of the universe's greatest works of art.
So, what's the verdict? If Saturn's rings disappeared overnight, the solar system wouldn't collapse. Life on Earth would continue as usual. But for science, it would be a cosmic earthquake, a once-in-a-lifetime mystery rewriting everything we thought we knew about how planets and their systems evolve.
And emotionally, we lose one of the most beautiful sights in the sky. A reminder that nothing in the universe lasts forever, not even the things we thought were eternal.
So, if you ever get the chance, take a moment to look at Saturn through a telescope, because in cosmic terms, its rings are only here for a fleeting moment.